TX Factor is brought to you in association with Martin Lynch & Sons, the world's favourite ham store. And the Radio Society of Great Britain is proud to sponsor TX Factor. Welcome to episode 17 of TX Factor. In this show, we look at QSL cards. Love them or hate them, someone has to coordinate the send and receive of thousands of cards a week to all parts of the world. We talk to the man who's responsible for the free service the RSGB offers to its members and find out how you can help to speed the process along. Most amateurs around the world are members of a nearby club. We sent Pete Sipple to experience a National Field Day event hosted by the Norfolk Amateur Radio Club to see how it's done East Anglian style. And who was the lucky winner of the Whisper Light Antenna test transmitter we gave away in our last episode? We'll tell you later. But now on TX Factor, the first part of our new series on digital formats. Mike Marsh invited Bob McCreadie back to his Devon shack to explain the ins and outs of the Fusion system, and he takes Bob down to the farm to see a Fusion gateway.
Well, I've got to say, it's nice to be back in Mike's shack again, although last time we were here, you remember we had that terrible thunderstorm. We were about to go off and do our
Yeah, you left me on my garden table.
We did, that's right. Well, we're indoors now, the sun's shining outside actually, and the first thing I noticed looking at your shack after an absence of a few months is you've got a new radio, the IC9100. Why?
I've got some explaining to do. That was a special birthday present treat to myself. I wanted to get a shack in the box and treat myself to an all-singing, all-dancing radio. And the big reason for grabbing that one was because it also had D-Star.
Well, that takes us to your new obsession, doesn't it? Which is all things digital. So tell us, Mike, how did it all start?
Well, it all kind of started with me feeling to myself, I've done everything I can do with analog radio, VHF and UHF, and a little bit of HF. Now I want to play digital, so I decided to buy myself a Fusion radio, and I kicked off with the Yaesu.
Why did you go for Fusion, first of all?
It seemed to me that because I've got a gateway close by to me, at least that would be a good opportunity to plug the radio in and hopefully hear somebody and have people to talk to. And because I'm not Internet Connect savvy, I wanted something that I could work on RF and talk straight into a gateway, and then hopefully get onto the wider network of Fusion and around the world. But yeah, getting to use it locally as well as in the car. But you know, I'm only one of a few Fusion radio users in the area, so because there aren't that many other users who've got the rigs, you're kind of calling for yourself the whole time. That's why I got the Fusion radio that can link to the gateway, that can then hopefully give me, you know, extra people to speak to.
As I understand it as well, one of the great things about Fusion is that you can get the radio straight out of the box and use it. You don't have to sign up for anything, whereas with D-Star, DMR, you've got to register.
That's right, yeah, you don't have to have like a Fusion ID or anything like that, which you do have to have with DMR, for example. D-Star, you certainly have to have your callsign registered on the database, but actually with Fusion, funny enough, you can just plug and play, put your radio in. It asks you to put your callsign in the radio, because I guess the important thing with digital modes is that every time you make a transmission, your callsign is visible. So it stops any kind of mic keying or anonymous transmissions. But yeah, Fusion seemed to me to be the easiest way to get into the hobby. And as I knew there were other people out there, you know, I'd have somebody to talk to.
So in some future episodes of TX Factor, we can cover off the D-Star and the DMR, because you've now got all three flavours in the shack.
You get hungry for more the whole time.
But coming back to the Fusion then, how easy was it? You know, the radio arrives, you get it out of the box. How long before you're having your first Fusion QSO?
even for someone like me who hates reading manuals, and I know you're the same, it was really easy. A case of powering up the radio, entering your call sign. That's the very first thing that comes up when you power the radio. It asks you who you are. So you put that in, and then literally you're ready to go. So you could hunt down a local simplex contact via Fusion. You could use a Fusion repeater, which we've got one of those local to me, so I can use that.
And does that just work pretty much the same as an analog repeater, except you're in digital mode while you're doing it?
Absolutely, yeah. And for the most part, the radio, if you've set it to digital mode and you ask for access to a repeater, that repeater will recognise your digital signal and let you in. You don't have to toggle between the modes. It is an FM radio as well. So, for example, if you were using it as a digital radio, you do have to do a little button push to switch back to FM. However, if the radio is just scanning or monitoring a channel, it will automatically detect whether you've got an FM signal or a digital signal, and it will make the change for you. So it's really easy from that point of view too.
Well, I'd like to see it in action. What's the easiest way of demoing what Fusion's all about?
Okay, well, because I'm almost Billy No Mates in this area, the best way to actually demonstrate the Fusion working would be to go through the local gateway. Can't guarantee somebody will be on a repeater, and I certainly couldn't guarantee that there'll be somebody simplex in the area with it. So the gateway would be the way to do it.
Because the gateway literally is a gateway to the world.
It is, absolutely, yeah. There might be more local people listening to the gateway because it's a bit of a kind of, it's like bees to a honey pot. It's that kind of thing. So the gateway is where it all happens, for sure, and definitely there'll be people linked in around the world.
Where is the gateway then, Mike?
Well, that's in Ottery St Mary, which is around about 4 miles away from me, and definitely within simplex range. It's running fairly low power, so you never get kind of, end-stop signals. So the fact that I can get into that one from home is a real added bonus for me, and working Fusion outside. So it's easy to connect to from here.
As I understand it, though, it's a bit more complicated than just using a repeater, which you can just bleep up and go. There's sort of more variables with this.
I can actually connect to the gateway and talk through it without doing anything more than choosing the right frequency. But if I want to go onto the gateway and then take control of it, because you can do that, then I need to tell the radio to connect to the gateway and take control.
So if you just talked into the gateway as is, just by going onto the frequency, you'll be talking to whoever the gateway is connected to. But if you take control, you can decide what you could connect it to. So you could choose a room.
Absolutely, yeah. What happens is I could press the connect button to take control of the gateway. You can then go through a set of menus where you can see exactly which different rooms you could choose to connect to if you don't like the one that's there already, and then you can press a button, make that move, and then be connected to that new gateway, which could be anywhere in the world.
So what's the protocol? Presumably you can't just jump in and start changing the room that you're connected to in the middle of somebody else's conversation.
Yeah, pretty much like it is if you were going to go to a new simplex channel. Listen first before you transmit. And certainly with Fusion or any of these modes where you can change where it's currently set at, listen first before you make any changes. Let it go quiet, until it's your go.
Otherwise, you're not going to make a lot of friends in your first appearance if you change. The first thing you do is change the chat room in the middle of somebody else's conversation.
And I have to say, the camaraderie amongst Fusion and the operators that I've come across has been fantastic. People are really, really helpful as well. If you've got questions, stuff you're not sure of, and that's definitely me, straight away somebody's got the answer. They're willing to spend time with you, sorting out your problem. And nobody's ever jumped down your throat if you've operated slightly badly, and by that I mean by jumping in on a transmission too quick.
So or just doing something, a novice mistake. They're not going to be too hard on you.
And an easy mistake to make when you start using the digital modes is to jump off the back of somebody's over really quickly. Like with a repeater, you get a couple of tones to leave a gap. When you're using the digital modes, there aren't necessarily any beeps, whistles and noises, but you do have to think about leaving a few seconds almost.
So there's a bit of a delay, isn't there?
There's a delay.
So there might be a pause before anything happens.
Everything has to latch and catch up. So if you're jumping in off the back of somebody's over really quick, chances are your transmission is going to get chopped off at the front, and you're going to come in mid-sentence.
So let's have a go. I'd love to see this connected up to the gateway.
All right, hang on a sec. Glasses on first, because you know what I'm like with the
Of
small
course.
print. Okay, so at the moment we are monitoring the simplex frequency of the gateway. I've not got the radio latched onto the gateway, so I can take control. So I can put a basic call through and see whether anybody's listening first of all. Golf 1 India Alpha Romeo, G1IAR, Golf 1 India Alpha Romeo, listening through the gateway. Now there is a delay you expect sometimes for the system to catch up with my transmission and then for somebody to come back to you. They don't always come back to you.
So you
Guess
wait
what?
2 or 3 seconds before deciding nobody's coming back to you.
Yeah, in this case they're not. So that's a great demonstration so far, isn't it? Let's try by connecting directly to the gateway and taking control of it by pressing the DX button on front of the radio. I'll push and hold it. Now you should hear a carrier come back. Hurrah!
Blankety blank.
Blankety
That's the
blank.
blankety blank thing too. Blankety blank.
It is copyright.
Yeah.
Now you can see we're connected to the gateway itself. The gateway's call sign has actually come up on the screen. Mike Bravo 6 Foxtrot Tango /GW. You know what the GW stands for? Gateway.
I worked
There we
that
go.
out all by myself.
Interestingly, I've also noticed text has appeared on the right-hand side saying it is the Ottery St Mary Gateway. And underneath that, it shows me which room it's connected to. And at this very moment in time, it's connected to the CQ UK Gateway, which is probably one of the most populated channels, if you like, on Fusion. CQ UK is a room within the Fusion system that a lot of people, like bees to the honeypot, they go to it because they're probably going to have somebody to talk to. So although that call I just put out would have gone through the CQ UK network, nobody was there. I'll do it again and just see whether anybody's there. In fact, I'm going to put a call out for the room operator. Mike 0 Sugar Golf Sugar. Mike 0 Sugar Golf Sugar. This is Golf 1 India Alpha Romeo calling through the CQ UK room.
Interestingly, you've got no bleeps or Ks or anything to let you know you've actually successfully got through. Is that coming up on the screen? Is that telling you anything, or are you just assuming that you have?
It's telling me on the screen that I'm connected to the local gateway, which we know by the information on the screen is connected to the CQ UK room. Other than that, you have no real audible indication that anybody can even hear you, or that you've latched onto the system. What does happen though is if a station comes back, you do get a beep, and when they've dropped carrier, you get a beep, and you also get a blue light which comes on the radio here, showing you reception of a digital transmission. Yeah, and I can't quite believe that actually nobody's come back to the call here, but that's typical when you're doing a demonstration. It is a Monday afternoon though, so you know chances are everybody's probably at work. Shall I put another call out and see what happens? Come on then.
Go.
Okay, red light for transmit, blue light for digital mode. Golf 1 India Alpha Romeo calling through CQ UK. This is Golf 1 India Alpha Romeo calling through CQ UK. Looking for a quick radio report, please.
Audio's okay. Slightly scratched on the edges, but we are looking through CQ UK, and it is an analog simplex link, so I can't give you a full report as a digital station. Entering the CQ UK and receiving via analog. M0 DKR in Blackpool. Name here is Dave. M0 Delta Kilo Radio.
M0 DKR, I think that was Delta Kilo Radio. Hi Dave, thanks for coming back to the call. We're just doing a quick demonstration on Fusion and working through a local gateway, which we're doing right now, and thankfully you came back to me because I thought I was the only person on the planet that wanted to play Fusion Radio this afternoon. All noted that you're working through an analog system, and I could see from my GPS on the top of the radio that you're 199 miles away from me in Blackpool. I'm transmitting from the southwest of the UK in Sidmouth in East Devon, and great to make the make the trip with you today, and hopefully this demonstration of our talk through on Fusion has worked okay. Many thanks for coming back to the call. It's been great to just demonstrate the Fusion system very briefly. So from G1IAR.
G1IAR. Okay, it's all copied. Okay, Series, have a wonderful day, and I hope you get many contests. So, peace out. M0 detail, back to standby.
We got a pip on the back of that. Was that coming from their analog repeater that was connected in there? That wasn't a Fusion pip, was it?
No, that actually is a Fusion pip, and that is the gateway itself acknowledging reception of a signal, and then the cessation of transmit. So that's the only indication you get that somebody is there and dropping carrier for you.
So this is the computer side of the gateway that's putting that pip in. I'm with that now.
Absolutely,
so,
yeah.
I've got it.
So those are the only indications you get.
But that was interesting. So you were talking to somebody there who was using an analog repeater in Blackpool that happens to be connected into the CQ UK room.
Yeah.
And that's one way of having a QSO, but it could equally have been somebody who was connected by Fusion. They could have been connected by another gateway, or they could be connected by a node, or they could be connected by a repeater that's internet linked. Yeah,
or they could be in their car operating mobile, again through a local repeater or through a local gateway. So it's fantastic. It's opened up the whole chances of a contact to countrywide and worldwide. And for those that bang on about this not being real radio, how isn't that real radio? There's a guy in his car, there's a guy out mobile, talking to me at home. We're using microphones and aerials. The internet might be in the way somewhere, but how's that not good? How's that still not radio, you know?
Well, thanks for the demo, Mike. I'm beginning to get my head around this now. I'm beginning to get bitten by the bug that's bitten you. This is really exciting. And having seen it from the operating end and you hooking into the gateway, I'm intrigued to find out more about the gateway itself. And presumably anybody can have a gateway.
Yeah, if you've got the cash and you're willing to set one up, that means leaving the equipment on when you're not there and stuff like that, unattended style. Anybody can set one up. It's easy to set up. It's easy to sort out the license requirements as well, and you can get on the air with your own gateway if you want.
Well, I'm quite intrigued with that as an idea, and sort of I'm mulling around, maybe I fancy doing that. So any chance we could go and have a look at the gateway itself and meet the guy who runs it?
Yeah, I don't see why not. He's literally 5 minutes down the road. We can jump in the car and go and see him, and he's exactly the right person to talk to because he's outstanding in his field.
Oh, so he's a farmer?
Yeah, he is Farmer Dave.
Oh, he is a farmer?
He is a farmer.
Oh.
Right, come and see the setup in the car. The all-new radio installation. Lots of work gone into this. Being a little bit OCD with the setup.
I think you spent a lot of time on this though, didn't you? Because you got a brand new car and you wanted to do a radio installation that wouldn't devalue your car in any way.
Yeah, and it's a big job. You know, you've got a lot to install into a car. I didn't want to trash it with what I was going to do. So I actually spent probably 3 weekends just out here with a notepad and a pen.
But before you even started?
Before I even started. Before I even got my tools out, it was a 3-week kind of just sit in the car, look around, see where I want to put everything. Then I started opening up the boot, checking where I could get power, where am I going to put feeder cables through, how am I going to hide all the wires, because I didn't want, cables wrapped around the gear stick and...
Hold that thought. Okay, note to self, future episode of TX Factor, we're going to revisit this and talk about that installation because I think it's really interesting. But now we want to look at the digital part of your installation.
Okay, let's open up and have a look.
I can see lots of buttons and switches and all kinds of marvellous things in this car, Mike. But I can't see a radio. Where's the radio?
That's because I've done a good job of hiding everything, including all the wires. The radio's on the windscreen, suction mount for the front of the radio, cables hidden all the way down the door posts and under the carpet, and the radio itself, the guts of the radio, it's under my backside of the driver's seat.
Okay, what radio is it?
It's the Yaesu FTM100D, the dual band Fusion radio.
Right, so we could do a bit of Fusion Mobile. Let's fire it up. Let's see it do its stuff.
All right, let's do it. We'll see where I last left it. Was I in analog? Was I in digital? You never know. Okay, so fire up mode. And I was last using GB3SW in FM. So let's just actually check that we're... Yeah, there we go. So we're getting... You can see it's working. I'm receiving something now. What we're interested in today is the digital side of it, right? So let's go around to one of my digital channels, and there it is. There is a digital channel working.
So what are we connected to?
Well, it says Gate OSM just because that's the memory name I've programmed into my memory. That stands for Gateway Ossory St Mary, which is where my local Fusion Gateway is. So we're connected. Actually, at the moment, we're not physically connected to the gateway because I've not told the radio to do that. But we're just listening to it. It's transmitting simplex. We're listening to the simplex signal from the gateway. For me to connect to the gateway, I need to tell the radio to do so by pressing the digital connect button. And when I do that, you'll hear the radio make a few bleeps and we will be part of the Fusion Gateway.
So who runs the gateway?
This is Farmer Dave, 2E0 KVJ. He's very kindly, off of his own back, set his own Fusion Gateway up at home.
So what power does it run? I mean, what kit does he use? What antennas does he need? Do you need special permission to run a gateway?
Too many questions for me, Bob. I haven't got a clue what the answers are to all those questions you fired at me, but I know a man who can answer all those questions. Do you fancy going to see him?
I do indeed.
Let's do it! Now I've got to get out of here without stalling the car and making myself look like an absolute idiot.
Well, we're here, but I have got a question for you before we go in, because I don't want to embarrass myself. You called him Farmer Dave, yeah?
Yeah.
Is he a real farmer?
Not quite.
What do you mean not? Well, what kind of farm is it?
A different one. Come and have a look.
All right.
Oh, right, come and have a look at this farm. You're going to love this. Horses going by.
Right, so this is proper countryside.
It is.
With horses and everything. Oh, look, Farmer Dave's gateway.
No, this is not the gateway.
But it is a gateway to a field. And looking in the field, there's nothing here. There's no sheep, there's no cows, there's no tractors, there's no crops. So what kind of farm is it?
I told you it was a different kind of farm, didn't I? It's this kind of farm.
I get it. It's a dairyal farm. Dairyal farm. Oh, please yourself.
Great joke. But true.
Which way are we going in, Mikey?
Well, in the usual traditions of a Radio Shack, through the back door, of course.
Ah, right.
Oh, hang on a sec, though.
What?
You did shut the gate, right?
What, that gate back there? Why?
Yeah. Well, I just worried one of these dairyals is going to escape.
Oh, dear.
Like my jokes?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Dave,
Hello.
hiya.
How you doing? No problem. Nice to see you.
Hey, Dave.
Very
nice
impressed
to see
by
you.
your aerial farm.
Come on in.
Loving this. Well, it's great to be actually at the aerial farm, Dave.
Yeah.
Out of all the antennas you've got up here, which one are you actually using as your Fusion antenna?
So we're using the collinear, which is above the cobweb there. It seems to work quite well. It has a good range, considering we're in the lowest part of the valley here.
I've just spotted your Callsign badge there, and this penny should have dropped a bit earlier actually, Dave, because you're 2E0 KVJ, and I'm sure I read somewhere that 2E0s couldn't host gateways.
There was a misnomer earlier in the year, but that's all been ironed out now by Ofcom. And,
So it was just a bit of a misunderstanding.
Yeah, I think, there is just a little bit of a misunderstanding.
You're not going to get arrested halfway through this interview.
No.
Just checking. All right, one of the other special requirements as well, if you have a gateway, is it's supposed to be able to be switched off if you're not here and there's a problem with it. So how do you deal with that?
Steve, I can't remember his Callsign, who's the vetting agent for the ETC, asked me if I would put in a isolator system, which I've nominated a few Callsigns. Well, they don't have to be amateurs. So we've put the box on the outside, which is a push switch, which completely isolates the radio. And I've also got a secondary one for my own purposes, which we'll see later on.
So you could phone somebody up and say, look, we've got to take the station
Yes.
off the air. I'm not at home. Could you go and press the button
Yes.
for me?
Yeah.
Show us the button.
So this is the box, and it clearly states what you have to do. Just open the box, push the red button in. That's it. It can't be pulled out once it's pushed in.
Yeah, it seems like a very good idea to me, because you just never know. It could just go wonky, couldn't it? Or, it could
Yeah.
be making straight as it's connected to a computer. Almost anything could happen.
Yes, it's quite correct, yeah.
Well, Dave, great to be in the shack. Thanks for having us on board and welcoming us into your Fusion Gateway. What do you actually need to put your Fusion Gateway together?
Fusion Gateway basically consists of a radio, an antenna, and then to connect it to the internet, you need the correct internet connectivity, which is the box, and obviously a computer and linked to the internet.
So what's the difference between a gateway and a repeater?
Well, a Fusion gateway is a simplex frequency and is usually connected to the internet and has very low output, whereas a repeater has a far higher output and can be dual mode, which is analog and Fusion, not necessarily though connected to the internet.
So what equipment do you need for the gateway?
Well, for my gateway, we're using a Yaesu FTM100.
That's what I've got in the car.
Other models are available. We're using the HRI 200 Wires X box. You can't see it, but there's a Dell PC down there, which is Windows 7. Obviously, we're using a power supply, and we're using the software provided by Yaesu, which is Wires X, and that's the screen that a repeater or a gateway or a node person will see.
So what is this Wires X box?
The Wires X box just allows the radio to communicate to the PC.
Okay, that's your interface
Yes.
between the radio and your computer, and then effectively the internet.
Yes.
So how easy is it to set up all of your equipment to get the gateway running? And you need a call sign as well for the gateway, right?
Yeah, so you need, obviously the call sign is determined by Ofcom, and then you need obviously the software from Yaesu, but before, which is freely available from the Yaesu site. But you need to register with the Yaesu Wires X system to get an ID number. If you're a node operator, a repeater operator, or a gateway operator, you need to sign up and you'll get an individual ID reference from Yaesu. But if you're an individual user just wanting to use the radio, there's no sign up. So once you signed up, you'll get an ID from Wires X and there'll be a list which you'll appear on. So here we have a complete list. Obviously you have to click on the various parts of the world, but it is a complete list of users
Across the world.
across the world of Wires X, and this includes repeaters, gateways and node owners.
Is this useful sometimes because you might need to get connection information of how to get connected into somebody's gateway?
That's correct. So I'll show you here briefly. So this is the node. So this is your own personal ID, and that is a room ID. So anybody can connect to their own room with somebody else and have a private chat.
Okay. So once you've got the gateway up and running and it's on the system, are you on your own or have you got like a little bit of outside help in running your gateway?
You're right, fairly well on your own, but the Wires X system, as I believe, I went to a meeting with at Martin Lynch's last year, and their idea is that it should be, as they would put it, pick up the ball and run with it and let the amateurs develop it further.
Fusion's a really expanding facet of digital voice in the hobby now. People are even starting to set up their own like Fusion rooms.
Yeah, let's not forget also, private individuals also have what we call a node, which is linked to their own call sign. So they can buy the Fusion radio and the HRI box and register and just use it as their own personal connectivity to Wires X. So you got three ways of using it: a repeater, a gateway and a node.
Okay, Dave, let's use the Fusion gateway. So who would be your first go-to person to call now?
Well, I would go to Stuart, M0 Sugar Golf Sugar. He's the room owner for CQ UK.
And that's the Fusion room that you and I are on most of the time.
Yeah, that's the one we use.
Okay.
It's quite popular, not only in the UK, but also has some continental.
It's busy.
It can be very busy, yes.
Yeah.
So why don't we give him a call?
Okay, let's do it, yeah.
Okay, M0 Sugar Golf Sugar, 2E0 KVJ, listening for you, Stuart?
Oh, hang on, 3-second delay here, right?
Yes.
2 Echo 0 KVJ, Mike 0 Sierra Golf Sierra returning. Yeah, good afternoon, David. Hope you're well. WX is overcast and very cloudy in Pudsey in West Yorkshire. How's the weather with you today?
M0 Sugar Golf Sugar, 2E0 KVJ. Thanks for the WX report. WX here is overcast like yourselves there, but it's quite a nice warm day here. Stuart, we'd like some information on how the CQ UK is developing with the likes of the links to the other modes, if you like to put it that way. M0 Sugar Golf Sugar, 2E0 KVJ.
Well, you're aware the the CQ UK room started in 1st of January of this year, and we initially were just a Wires X room. I teamed up with Ricky and my 5D room in Belfast, and we decided to that it'd be a nice place to have all the modes connected. We started off with a DMR link, which we got a reflector, and we connected that one in, and then we spent a few months trialing it out and changing configurations at both ends so that we could try and keep it as stable as possible. And then we connected the FCS reflectors on 004 Route 20 on the dongle side of things, so we could get people using all different types of dongles into the room, and that has been absolutely stable. And we've now started on the D-Star link. We're getting a D-Star reflector to connect into the CQ UK room, but we're currently waiting for hardware for the US to complete that particular part of the experiment. Back to you, Dave. 2E0 KVJ M0 Sugar Golf Sugar.
So that was really good hearing from Stuart, who's the CQ UK room operator. Bit of breaking news on what he was telling you about the fact that his CQ UK room running Fusion is now going to be able to talk with DMR and D-Star as well now. I'm so excited about this. I'll tell you why. So you were Billy No Mates on one format. You might have had some friends on the other. The other one you couldn't even listen to. Now, Stuart's just said, we might be able to bring the whole digital amateur radio family together for the first time and have Fusion, D-Star and DMR talking to each other. How fantastic is that?
Yeah, we're getting there. We're not quite there yet. DMR is only usable on DMR Plus, so you can't use the Brandmeister side of it.
Okay.
And obviously D-Star, we're waiting for some developments, hardware developments out of America to finally glue the two lots together. When that's all done, yeah, but we're looking at maybe, I think we should be all there within the next 6 to 12 months.
Exciting times, Dave. Do you know what? For the first time, it actually feels like the digital community, it's not about coming together, but it's about all the fragmented formats actually talking the same language. It's so frustrating as a radio ham when you have to go out and buy all these bits of equipment to talk to all your different friends if you want to play the different modes, you know. But now that, I don't know, I just feel like we're on the brink of something really exciting now, and we might actually be able to buy one radio and talk to all formats, or have one radio that works on all formats. If that happens, I'll be a happy chappy.
Oh, we like Mike when he's happy, but only time will tell if his dream will come true. And when it does, we'll cover it here on TX Factor. Still to come, we speak with the RSGB's QSL Bureau Manager about those special little cards and what we can do to speed them on their way. And that's coming up next.
Martin Lynch & Sons are delighted to announce the complete range of West Mountain radio products from the USA. The range includes rig blasters, rig runners, noise reduction speakers and a multitude of handy power-related gadgets for the shack. For the latest price and limited stock availability, you know where to go. At ML&S, we're also happy to announce the new ICOM IC R8600 SDR wideband receiver from 10 kHz to 3 GHz range with no gaps on the UK version and the ability to decode multiple digital protocols. This could be your next SDR receiver of choice. For latest price and limited stock availability, or to place a deposit and be first in the queue, see the ML&S website. Martin Lynch & Sons, the world's favourite ham store.
With me now is Richard G3UGF, the QSL manager of the RSGB. Richard, you've got a bit of a quiz going on here. QSL quiz, what's that all about?
Well, it's really an education exercise. We ship 1.3 million QSL cards a year, and time is our enemy. And so we've hit on the idea that the more the members can do for us before we open the envelope to speed the process, the quicker we can turn the cards around, and hopefully they'll get the replies quicker.
So what do they need to do? Because what are the problems that you encounter? Is it that they send you the wrong amounts or the wrong envelopes? Or
All of the above and more. They're heavy, they're the wrong size, they don't put them in prefix order. So the worst thing you can do to us is send them in logbook order, because our sort frame's 27 feet long and it's hard on the feet running backwards and forwards. So if we can just literally check your membership from your Radcom label that it's there, we don't need to go databasing checking for you, and then we can just go fire them off and you're already on your way. Our checking pile is about a week high, waiting for people's memberships to be verified. So their members are slowing down their own cards.
So you've got a lot of volunteers who are doing this with you, Richard. So, it is really important that we make it as easy as possible for them.
We have about more than 60 sub-managers who of their own time actually fill envelopes, chase members to collect their cards. That's on the UK side. But of course, all the foreign side falls to me. And we're shipping more than a ton of cards a year. But we want to ship them to people who want the cards. We want to be able to ship them to destinations that we can. We can't ship everywhere in the world, but there's 178 IARU bureaus, but 22 of them are closed. A very common destination like Morocco, for example, you can't send a card there. Most of the Caribbean or Africa, you can't. And we need people to check qrz.com. So before they send, check before you send, so that cards aren't wasted.
And this is a service that the RSGB provides for its members, so it's something of a benefit that you get for being a member of the RSGB, but it's really important that to make the most of it, you follow the rules. I won't list them all, because there's too many to do, but where can you find those rules?
You can find them at the RSGB website, like everything else, or you can find them in the RSGB yearbook. And the quiz is one way to bring it to their attention, and of course they can win 500 custom-made cards for themselves.
That's fantastic. Now, when you're not, I've just got to ask you this, I know that when you're not dealing with QSL cards, you're very into valve radios, would that be right?
Yes, I love radios that glow in the dark, yes.
So you're a KW man?
Yes, it's one of those afflictions that's grown on me.
Okay, what I'm going to do when the interview's over, I've got a technical problem with the KW2000, we can deal with that off air.
I may not be able to fix it for you, but I might know a man who can.
Brilliant, that's what I like to hear.
In the last show, Mike gave an overview of the Whisper Light antenna performance analysis system from Sotabeams, and we decided to give the unit away in our free-to-enter draw. Well, out of the many hundreds of entries, the lucky winner was Gavin Spowart, Zulu Sierra 6 Bravo Whiskey Whiskey, who lives in Johannesburg, South Africa. And you can hear a chat with him and Bob on the TX Factor website. Well done, Gavin. Your unit and a TX Factor mug are on their way. After the break, we join Pete Sipple in sunny Norfolk at this year's Radioactive National Field Day.
The Radio Society of Great Britain is proud to be a sponsor of TX Factor. The RSGB has been in existence since 1913 and has always worked to protect, promote and enhance the use, understanding and enjoyment of wireless communication within a constantly developing amateur radio environment. The RSGB administers nearly 3,000 exams every year on behalf of Ofcom, sending out exam materials, marking papers and issuing results. Standards and procedures are reviewed constantly, with compliance checks by exam centre inspections and analysis of results. The RSGB reviews and updates the exam syllabus for approval by Ofcom. A large team of tutors around the country deliver courses using the range of RSGB training books, and our online exams introduced in early 2017 have been well received by radio amateurs. See the RSGB website for more information on how the Society can work for you.
Now, with almost summer weather upon us, of course, it's great to get out in the field and play amateur radio. And today we're out in Norfolk looking for an amateur radio field event. Now, I can see lots of cars in the car park with their antennas on, which hopefully shows we're in the right direction. But we're going to see if we can find a field day. I'm seeing some guy ropes. This is a good sign. And this is the real clue we've come to the right place. A trusty yellow sign for the Norfolk Amateur Radio Club, that away. And indeed, here we go. I can see several gazebos going up, a very impressive antenna, and even a small wind farm. So we've definitely come to the right place. This is the Norfolk Amateur Radio Club's annual field day. Let's see what they're up to. So while antennas, towers and marquees were being erected, I sought out the event's organiser, Dave Palmer.
Well, the Norfolk Amateur Radio Club's been going a lot longer than I have. I've been a member about 18 years, but I believe it goes back sort of 30, 40, 50 years even, a long, long time ago. We meet in Norwich every Wednesday night between 7 and 10 at the City of Norwich School. We have now about 150 members.
Wow, impressive number of members. So what do you do to keep those members interested?
I think what we try to do is that very difficult thing and try and do something for everybody. It is very difficult and it's a compromise. So with our 50 weeks that we meet every year, about half of them are informals where people just socialise, chat, maybe have little contest meetings or CW meetings, CW training, that sort of thing. And then we have a talk the other week, and it's getting the balance of that right, I think, and the balance of talks, things that will interest everybody, people who've been experienced many years. And then of course we get lots of newcomers from our courses because we've got to keep them coming to keep the hobby fresh and to keep it going.
We first met, must have been about, a year and a half ago, not that far away from here, for Train the Trainers. What went on then?
Yeah, the Train the Trainers was an opportunity to really try and put something back into the hobby. As you know, the Train the Trainers team have been trying to get around the country to share their ideas about how people can teach. And I'm a really deep believer in training because training is at the heart of the hobby. How else are we going to get new members involved with this hobby? It's an unusual hobby in that you have to be licensed to really enjoy it to the full. And that means there has to be training involved. So when I meet people from other clubs, maybe sometimes small clubs, and they don't know how to grow their club, it's always training that you've got to start with. So when the opportunity came to host Train the Trainers for Norfolk and a wider area indeed around East Anglia, we were really happy to do it.
And of course there's the challenge, is trying to get newcomers into the hobby. I've seen a few of them today coming in with their new Callsign badges, looking like they're getting excited about the hobby. So what sort of things do you do for the newcomers?
Well, we start off with obviously with a course, which we managed to do over 2 days, usually 2 consecutive Saturdays. That just gives them enough to do the course and to do the exam on the last day, but of course that's just the beginning. We teach them to pass the exam, to get their licence, but we really see that as just the beginning of their hobby. So what we automatically do is give everybody 3 months membership of the club. Not everybody, after all, are club people. They don't all want to belong to clubs. But most people need some holding hand to take them to the next level, to what aerial to buy, what rig to buy, how to do it. So we give them that 3 months. Hopefully they'll take advantage of it. Most of them do. And then they come on to join the club, some of them, or we've started them on their hobby and they go on their merry way. And then the other thing, of course, to keep them enthused is to encourage them to enjoy their M6 for 6 to 9 months or so and then go on to the 2E0. Which is a great course, and we've got one running right now actually, an intermediate course. We do that over 5 days, a much more practical course of course as well, and that helps them understand those transistors, resistors and capacitors and things that they're going to come across in their hobby. So yeah, we've got a strong training program, and every other year we also run an advanced course, which is a pretty tough course to run. It takes us about 12 days, and hopefully many of those will turn into trainers themselves. I think about half our training team are people that we started training ourselves sort of 15 years ago.
We last met must have been a year or so ago at Newark for National Hamfest, and of course the Norfolk Club was awarded the RSGB's Club of the Year award. Has that changed what the club does?
No, I don't think so, except that it's given us, I suppose, confidence that we must be doing something right. I think it was great that we had so many members there on the day as well, because it's very much, it's not just the people at the officers and the committee members of the club that run this club. The club is about everybody, and so it was wonderful to have so many people there to share in that celebration. And we used that to inspire us and to go further, and you've got to continue working at something like this. I think the moment you step back and say, well, we've got everything right, you could become complacent, and then it stops being fresh and stops being inviting for new people to join the hobby.
Mm-hmm. I'm involved in running a club, and I also help out with various other clubs in my part of the world. And one of the problems we have is trying to get members off their backsides and out to field days or to club events. You've got 150 members, and looking around today, they're all here. You've managed to get them along to take part in this event. How do you go about doing that?
Well, National Field Day, as you know, has been a traditional event, been run for many years, and indeed for Norfolk Amateur Radio Club until 12 years ago was in a field in North Tuddenham, and it was very much the traditional sort of field day event, rather dirty, muddy, no facilities, and it meant that the hardened CW operators would do it, but nobody else. Well, we lost that field by accident. That the farmer just sold it to somebody else and we couldn't use it. And I'm fortunate enough to have a business here and some fields around me which I own. And so we were able to use those to put the National Field Day on. And in the 6 weeks, I think, or so that I had, I just thought maybe we can turn this into something else and encourage people. We have got facilities here, not just toilets and things, but we've got catering facilities, we've got a meeting room where we can run some talks. So very quickly, we put on this event we now call Radioactive. And that's where it really all started. And I think, although CW and contests are not for everybody, if you can put on something alongside that event that attracts everybody, in particular families. Tomorrow, for example, on the Sunday, my wife and I cook roast joints, and we give roast joint rolls and everything to everybody, and we literally encourage people to bring their families, their children, their friends, family. Otherwise, how are we going to involve them as well? Where does their husband or wife go every Wednesday night and disappear for 3 hours? You know, it's just nice to show them what the hobby's all about, and in that way as well, we'll pick up new members and new people interested in the hobby.
As we're seeing here today at NARC's Radioactive event, club activities are an important part of amateur radio. There's one man who has the job of discovering what clubs around the UK are up to and passing that information on to the other clubs, and that's RSGB's president, Nick Henwood.
Yeah, well, it occurred to me that clubs have found it helpful, actually, to know what's going on in other clubs. Now, some clubs are doing that already very effectively, and I'm thinking, for example, of quite a lot of what goes on in Essex at the present time, and also in Norfolk, where actually clubs do network. Now, I'm not suggesting the RSGB should do things which clubs are already doing probably more successfully, more effectively locally, but I'm saying I think there is a place for sharing some knowledge about some of the exciting new things that are going on, so that clubs can plug in if they want to.
And so far, how have clubs reacted to this and started to contribute?
I've had a reasonably good response to that. I'd like lots more. I don't need anything very complicated. Just a few lines saying, you know, we're doing something really exciting with, young people, or we're doing something, projects, building things, all sorts of different ways, and just really so we can draw those together and make the information available to other people.
How are you going to collate that and pass that information on?
Well, I think one thing the RSGB can do and must do effectively is providing information for radio amateurs. So there's been a big concentration on video content on the RSGB website in the last couple of years, and we're getting some very positive comments from that. That would seem to me to be a pretty logical way of introducing some of the evidence about clubs which I'm talking about. We're also going to talk about it at our convention this year in October at Milton Keynes. I'm also open to any other ideas.
So if someone watching is involved with a local club and they've got some ideas they want to pass on, or they want to maybe find out what more help they can get from the RSGB, what do they do? Well, they could look on the website. There's a lot there. If you're a member, if you just put your call sign in, it'll tell you what's going on in your locality. But if people have got a bright idea and would like to contact me as part of this, I'd be delighted. They can send an email to me at president@rsgb.org.uk. Nice to take the load off and sit down for a little bit. We're sitting at the bottom of a very, very tall tower. Let's hope they don't put too many watts up this, otherwise we'll start to fry a little bit there. I'm talking to Leanne, M0OCL. Hello.
Hi.
So you're probably one of the youngest people here, and also you've got the M0. So you've gone all the way through foundation, intermediate, full, is that right?
Yes. It's a lot of hard work.
How long did that take?
3 years.
So is this your first field day?
It's my second or third.
And what do you enjoy about these field days?
It's nice just to come and socialise and listen to all the talks that are going on, because they're quite informal.
Mm-hmm. What sort of stuff do you enjoy about amateur radio?
I like talking to people all around the world as well as down the road. It's very diverse and very easy.
Mm-hmm. So what sort of stuff do you do? Are you an FM person or a Morse or a data person?
I am mostly on SSB. I do a little bit of RTTY. That's it, really.
Data modes are good. They cut through where the voice doesn't, so
yeah.
That's really good. And I have to ask, are any of your friends into amateur radio at all?
They do know, but I don't talk about it a lot, and it's just something that you don't talk about to your friends with.
You haven't tried to recruit any of them at all?
No, not at the moment.
So you're an M0, and probably one of the youngest M0s that I know. You've gone all the way through foundation, intermediate and full. How difficult was that to do?
My dad sort of dragged my family into doing the M6, and then we sort of decided that we'd do the 2B0 just to get that little bit more power, just to get higher up. And then I heard that the club was doing a full licence exam, and I thought I'll give it a go. And it took me 2 times to pass it.
Well done. There's not many people that have gone that quickly through to M0, so well done. Enjoy the event, hope you have good fun, and see if you can get on and do a little bit of Ritty before the weekend finishes.
I will.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm talking to Marshall now, M6DXL.
Hello.
This is your first time at this event, is that right?
It is indeed, yes. Yeah, first time here at Field Day. I'm quite a new operator. I just got my licence in 2013, I'm part of a club, clubs in Cambridge, King's Lynn and Norwich as well. And the guys at Norwich were good enough to take me for my M6 test a couple of years ago. I took up CW on advice from Roger, actually, who came to do a talk over at our club in King's Lynn a few years back. And I discovered I really enjoyed the mode. I was always interested in CW, and it's fantastic mode, and with only a 10 watt license I found that I've not really needed much more power than 10 watts to work several countries and to use HFCW, which is a very satisfying mode to use, I must say.
Excellent. Well, it looks like you've won the award for the shiniest CW key here today.
Oh right, oh thank you very much, yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So this is your pride and joy?
It is indeed, yes, yeah. It's made by M0 AGA, and it's a chevron key, so they're fantastic CW keys, and I thought I'd buy one once and get a decent key.
Absolutely beautiful. So you're going to be on air with this later today. What's your speeds? What's your WPM?
Work mostly sort of in the mid-20s, something like that. So, and if I'm practicing, sort of late 20s, something like that in receiving. But I'm just a novice at the moment. I don't have a shack set up at the moment at home due to building a new one and doing some work on the house and starting a new business at the moment as well. So, as and when I can, I do a bit of practice during the week. But very much looking forward to operating during field day.
Excellent. Enjoy it. Good DX.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Cheers. Demonstrations and talks are also on offer during this 2-day event. Giving us an update on his end-fed half-wave antenna kit is our old friend Steve Nichols. So I was listening to your talk a little bit earlier about the end-fed half-wave dipole kit. What is all that about?
Well, we a few years ago decided to produce a kit for amateurs or for local club members that let them build a high-performance antenna that could work in any back garden. I think the trouble with a lot of back gardens is you haven't got much space, but you've got lots of vertical space, so a vertical antenna made a lot of sense. But usually with a quarter wave antenna you need an extensive ground plane, but with a half-wave, end-fed half-wave antenna, you don't need quite an extensive ground plane at all, and it's very, very efficient. So we had it as a club project. We had about 20 or 30 kits that were made. Everyone built them, we tuned them for them, so they all ended up with very high efficiency 20 metre or 17 metre antennas. We use it on our International Marconi Day event every year at Keystone. We've worked all over the Caribbean, into Australia, America, Canada, so we know it works very, very well.
And of course these are great for people that maybe haven't got the garden space necessary to do something like this?
Yeah, I think there's two things to it. I think when people first get licensed, they don't actually have that much knowledge of antennas. So this lets them build something that we know can work, and they can build it themselves. There's a lot of fun to be had, but working stations with something you've built yourself. And also it's very, very efficient, much more so than some of the compromised antennas that are on the market, even though some of them are very expensive. They don't work terribly well.
Now you mentioned expense. This is a pretty cheap kit, isn't it?
Yeah, the kit we put together is £15. So for that they get the box, they get the SO239 connector, the earth and antenna connections, and then inside the box they get a toroid, the enameled copper wire that they require. And then one of the clever bits with this is for a capacitor we use a piece of coax. So instead of a high voltage or expensive capacitor, we just use a piece of coaxial cable as the capacitor, and basically you just snip it to get the resonant point that you require.
Oh wow, that's a really simplistic design, isn't it? It's great.
Yeah, I mean it's very easy to put together, very easy to tune, and we know it works. And all you need then is a fiberglass fishing pole with your 10 metre piece of wire on it, or you can hang it over a tree if you've got one. And it seems to be about 2 or 3 S points better than a G5RV or any compromised antenna that we've compared it against. So we're very pleased with it.
Is this a kit a lot of newcomers take up?
So yeah, some of the newcomers coming to the hobby have never soldered anything in their lives before, built anything, so this is a good kit to actually get them going on, and we can check it through. They get full instructions on how to build it. We help them with it on the club nights, and then we've got the analyzer so we can tune it for them. So we know that they walk away with something that actually works.
So Steve, do I have to be a member to get hold of this kit?
No, we just do it as a members only kit, but the instructions for building one of these can be found on my website, which is g0kya.blogspot.co.uk. If you search on there for NFED half-wave or EFHW, all the instructions are on there. And there's multi-band versions as well, but this is the simplistic monoband high-performance one.
And are any of these in use at today's field day?
No, we're only allowed one antenna for each of the stations, so we have to have an antenna that will work everywhere from top band to 10 metres, so we're using doublets, I think, on both stations.
Excellent, well done on today. Very busy day here at Norfolk, and hope the rest of the weekend's good.
Japan Oscar 02 London November 02 Lima November book number 2781 over.
It's all heating up. The SSB station is on, the CW station's on, and I've just dragged poor old Chris away to find out what's going on here today. 6 metre contest, Chris. What are you up to?
We're running the 6 metre Summer Ease contest organised by the UK 6 metre group. It's also in conjunction with several other European countries, so there's a big 6 metre contest to sort of coincide with the sporadic E-season, of which last week was very good and today's not quite so good, but hopefully it'll improve later.
So 6 metres very busy. Now this is a CW field day, so why have we got 6 metres going on here?
Well, a few years ago when we used to do just normal field day, the situation was that a lot of people didn't want to get involved because it was CW only. So as a club, and David's idea was to put on a radioactive event which had talks and various things with it, and it just so happened that the 6 metre contest coincided. So I'm not a great CW operator, but I thought, well, if we did the sideband contest at the same time, then we could sort of, reach out to everybody. And as you can see, we've got quite a few people here who aren't CW operators looking at this, as well as being involved with the rest of the day's activities.
I have to say, I'm very impressed with the antenna we've got above us. How far out is this going?
I think we've worked a few in the UK. We've worked some people in the Netherlands. I think we've worked Israel on 6 metres. So conditions are like the Ease is sporadic, so you never know who you're going to contact. So at the minute, it's looking quite promising.
And this is a 24-hour contest?
Yeah, it started at 2 p.m. local time. Goes on till 2 p.m. tomorrow. It's a yearly event, and it's obviously being run by the UK 6 metre group. There's lots of English activity as well as European.
This is obviously a very busy event. You've got a lot of people here, a lot of people trying to work the station, which is great. But you guys do a lot of other stuff, don't you? Particularly, I've been told to ask you about the Bucket and Spade event.
Yeah, we have one Sunday in the year, usually in July, we have a radio by the seaside. So we, as a club, go out to a car park that's right on the coast in the sand dunes and basically put put aerials up, and people. We have sort of club kits that are built through the year. We have the NFED half-wave, which you've probably spoken to Steve about. That's a club project. It was a kit of parts that people built, and that's an opportunity to go to the beach, set it up, and if they aren't getting the results they should do, people are on hand to help them get it to work.
So today's event and some of the other events you've just mentioned are clearly aimed at club members. Do you guys do anything for the rest of the community?
Yeah, we sort of reach out to the sort of local community via events that happen within the area. There's things like the Weeting Steam Fair, which is a big sort of country fair type arrangement where 12,000-15,000 people go. Steam engines as part of it, bit of technology, various things. We've had a stand at that for the last couple of years with a tower, demonstrations. We put the tents up and show people radio in action. Prior to that, we did the Worcester Festival, which was a similar event, slightly more people. Before that, we did the East of England Showground, or Norfolk Showground rather, for the big show there, the Police Gala Day. So over the years, we've done quite a number of big events to sort of flagship amateur radio, really.
And of course, the Norfolk Amateur Radio Club was Club of the Year not that long ago. What did you do to win that, and why do you think you won that award?
We cover all aspects, really. We do lots of training. We organise events such as this. It's an all-inclusive club, and so we try as much as possible to put people through the licence and then bring them into the hobby and actually make them welcome within the club. And the secret, I don't know what the actual secret is, but whatever it is we're doing, it's really working well. It's a great club to be a member of.
And I have to ask before I go, I'm not a club member. Any chance I can have a quick go on 6?
Yeah, I'm sure you can, yeah, just put your name down.
Our day at Norfolk is drawing to an end. It's been a busy day, but of course the event's going to carry on for another 24 hours. We won't be here for all of it, but I couldn't go without catching up with Malcolm, who is the president of NARC. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
So just tell us what's been going on over this weekend.
Well, this weekend is traditionally field day, European field day, but what we have done as a club is to combine field day with other activities, as you probably have seen, with the 6-metre contest station as well, and also what we call radioactive, which is workshops and training for newbies, new people coming into the hobby.
Now, what I have noticed spending a day with you guys up here in Norfolk is you are a very, very committed group of people. You're all working well together. You're doing a whole bunch of different activities. Is that what you would say makes a good club?
I think certainly enthusiasm from the members has got to be probably one of the number one, but also the team that's running the club is very important to make sure that we're representing all of the various facets and aspects of the hobby to make it of interest to all of the members, because not everybody is interested in, be it CW, contesting or various factors in the hobby. So I think that's very important to cover a wide scope.
I'm not going to keep you, Malcolm, because I know the CW contest has just started. The van door has been shut, which is a good sign that they want a bit of quiet in there. It's taken very seriously, today's contest, isn't it?
Oh yes, yes. It's we're operating very low power QRP, so it's 24 hours now of continuous operation through until tomorrow afternoon.
And when are you on?
I shall be on at 10 o'clock tonight until 1 o'clock, and then again tomorrow afternoon.
Malcolm, thank you very much. Good luck in the contest.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, my thanks to everyone here at NARC for a great insight into what can be achieved by a club with an enthusiastic membership team and great resources. I hope you've been equally inspired. David, we met here, must have been about, what, a year and a half ago for the Train the Trainers event here in Norfolk. Can you tell me a little bit more? Not going on the outtakes, this one.
This episode was brought to you in association with Martin Lynch & Sons, the world's favourite ham store, and the Radio Society of Great Britain, proud sponsors of TX Factor.